Welcome back to Crawford Clark Close-Up and our ranking of all the horror movies we watched in October 2021. We have 20 films to rank, and please remember this is our subjective list, so don't be disheartened if one of your favourites is lower on our list. Starting at number 20, we have the redundant sequel to Neil Marshall's excellent 2005 horror The Descent, 2009's The Descent Part 2. Whichever ending of that first film you trust, the sequel, set days after the original, assumes that protagonist Sarah is the sole survivor who manages to make it out of the cave, only for the search party to demand she return to the caves to help them look for survivors. The gore is ramped up, as with any horror sequel, yet the plot is paper thin, and even the cave dwellers look less frightening in this turgid sequel. At 19, we have All Hallows Eve The Reaping from 2015. I decided this Halloween season to watch all the Art the Clown movies, so imagine my surprise when the character that makes these films genuinely chilling doesn't even appear in this anthology story. There's an effectively creepy opening with a babysitter and a young boy carving a pumpkin before things take a turn for the worst, but otherwise this is a damp squib of an anthology horror flick. Number 18 is the original All Hallows Eve from 2013, which gave birth to Mike Gianelli's creation of Art the Clown. There are stories within the film that go nowhere and have no place being included because they're laughably bad, as you're really waiting for Art to appear on screen. The scene where he's getting closer to the edge of the TV monitor with the babysitter is genuinely unnerving. At 17, we go considerably lighter with Addams Family Values, director Barry Sonnenfeld's sequel to the 1991 original, which sees Fester become smitten with the new babysitter, who turns out to be a psychopath who marries rich bachelors before bumping them off. It's a fun premise and the acting is on point, it's just nowhere near as good as the first film. Number 16 is a film that I had no preconceptions about whatsoever before I began watching, David Lowery's self-reflective A Ghost Story, starring Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara. Long takes and melancholia make up an effective movie, if one I'm not desperate to watch again anytime soon. At 15, after the effectiveness of James Wan's The Conjuring in 2013, I was expecting great things from its sequel. Sadly, it failed to live up to these expectations, instead relying on too many horror and supernatural genre tropes that I felt the original cleverly managed to steer a course away from. At 14, it's the best of the Art the Clown movies to date, 2016's Terrifier. It's insanely gory and largely follows the same beats of predecessor All Hallows Eve, but it's got some great horror moments. At number 13, we go back to 1959 and the Universal horror movie The Mummy. 40 years before Brendan Fraser and Arnold Vosloo were battling it out in Egypt, Christopher Lee surprises as the titular character. The film has plenty of mystery and is ominous from the outset. At number 12, we have Wesley Snipes in the first of the Blade movies from 1998. There's plenty of violence from the blood-soaked nightclub opening to the blood sacrifice ending, and this is a slick Marvel movie a decade prior to the MCU being a thing. Just sitting outside the top 10, we've The Addams Family, Barry Sonnenfeld's directorial debut, which is 30 years old this year. Christopher Lloyd, Raul Julia and Angelica Houston head up a starry cast in this kooky, entertaining update of the classic TV series. Before we get into our top 10, let us know the films you watched this Halloween season in the comments below, and let us know what you think of our ranking of these movies. Don't forget to click subscribe at the top of the page and the notification bell to know when we post new videos on the channel. We start the top 10 with one of the newest releases in our ranking, Robert Eggers' cinematographer's dream, The Lighthouse from 2019. It's obscure, it's got Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson on electric form, and it's got a moody landscape. There's plenty to enjoy here, and this is certainly one for repeat viewings. Number 9 is Michael Powell's controversial 1960 classic Peeping Tom, with Karl-Heinz Böhm on fantastic form as Mark Lewis, the photographer, filming women in the last moments of their lives to capture their dying expressions of terror. This is a masterclass in suspense filmmaking that still holds up over 60 years on, though would ultimately mark the end of Powell's directing in Britain. At number 8 we go back further still with The Wolfman from 1941. The film is celebrating 80 years in 2021 and Lon Chaney Jr. is outstanding as Lawrence Talbot and the infamous Wolfman. The effects hold up well and the atmosphere and cinematography really stand out in this classic in the Universal Monsters canon. Number 7 is David Gordon Green's 2018 Halloween. Michael Myers is back, with all the many sequels aside from the 1978 original ignored, for a stripped-back, entertaining addition to the franchise. Myers is being transferred from one prison to another and manages to break free from hostage to go on another murderous spree. And at 6, there's a little separating the aforementioned, with David Gordon Green's follow-up, Halloween Kills, released this year. The kill count is significantly ramped up. The title was surely a giveaway, but a lot of this feels very gratuitous. The film's saving grace, however, is the expertly recreated flashback scenes to Halloween night 1978, where we see Myers finally captured, as opposed to escaping a la the many Halloween sequels. Carpenter's score continues to work well, but the film never really gets better after the opening 15 minutes. So, beginning our top 5, we have the superior original sequel from 1981, Halloween 2. The hospital setting on Halloween night is a claustrophobic setting for Michael's continued rampage, and the kill count is stepped up from the original. It is over the top, and the acting and direction are nowhere near as good as the original film, but nevertheless, it's a solid sequel. At number 4 we have James Wan's The Conjuring. Relying less on cheap horror jump scares, every scare in this effective chiller is earned, much like Wan's work on the first Insidious movie beforehand. Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga and Lily Taylor lead an impressive cast in this atmospheric horror. The top 3 starts with Neil Marshall's brilliant The Descent. Coming out of nowhere in 2005, this British creature horror works from start to finish as a group of girls get picked off one by cave dwellers waiting for them in the dark. The film is drenched in claustrophobia and nervous tension and is one of the most surprising efforts in the genre of the 21st century. Just missing out on the top spot purely because our number 1 has become so iconic, we have Sang Ho-yoon's extraordinary zombie thriller Train to Busan. I have to admit, going into this film I'd heard positive things, but I expected little, and I was blown away. The acting is superb, particularly from father and daughter, portrayed by Gong Yoo and Soo-an Kim, who take the fated train, unbeknownst to them and their fellow passengers, that a human slowly turning into a zombie has climbed aboard before the train departs, and carnage quickly ensues. The film had me on the edge of my seat, screaming for characters' safety and crying at the heartbreaking ending. This is a stellar entry in this horror genre that deserves to be seen. Audacious filmmaking with superb effects and makeup work. So our number 1 goes to the mighty Silence of the Lambs, the film that took home Best Picture 30 years ago, as well as deserved awards for Jodie Foster and the mighty Anthony Hopkins, who steals the film despite having less than 20 minutes screen time. Jonathan Demme's telling of Thomas Harris's novel grabs you from the outset and doesn't let go, even in the final frame, as Clarice takes the mysterious call from Lecter. The violence is tastefully done, the suspense is ramped up throughout, and the film is just a perfect thriller that holds up brilliantly after 3 decades. So there you have it, our ranking of the 20 movies we watched in October 2021 for Halloween Horror 2021. If you enjoyed this video, please click subscribe at the top of the page to ensure you don't miss out on any new content. Come and find Crawford Clark Close-Up on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. You can find us on the movie app Letterboxd. We're CC Close-Up. And you can also drop us an email with suggestions for future reviews on the channel to crawfordclarkcloseup@gmail.com. So, at this point, Crawford Clark Close-Up is going to take a break. It's been a bit of a full-on year, and we could do with a break to recharge our batteries. But never fear, we'll be back in 2022 with new content. Thanks for subscribing in 2021 if you have, and thanks for being with us since the start if you're one of our earliest subscribers. Until 2022, thanks for watching, and until the new year, that's a wrap.